Hello, my name is Kate, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm going to show you a little bit more about how I do self-portraits, and today I've rearranged my entire dining room. I got my dining room table off to the side, I've got my chairs all the way on the other side of my living room, and I've set up my big backdrop. So today I'm doing black, and I'm going to walk you through a little bit about how I set my camera up, the gear I'm using, and posing ideas, that sort of thing, so that you can have an idea on things you can do at home. For instance, if you haven't got much booked in the way of sessions, you can do a little bit of this at home, get a little creative. You can do it with a friend, you can do it by yourself, but I'm going to show you the tools to be able to do self-portraits in your own studio. So to start with, I'm going to walk you through the gear that I'm going to be using today. The stand, it came from Amazon. It came with some fabric backdrops. Personally, I don't like the fabric backdrops because I have to iron it, or I have to steam it just to get all the wrinkles out, and I don't like this look. So I've invested in a couple rolls of paper. This is black. I also have a white. Those are just my go-to colors. I do plan on getting something a little bit in the middle at some point, but those just work really well for what I photograph, which is kind of nice. So I've got my black on there today. I also have my Pro Photo, my B10 Plus all set up, ready to go. You don't have to have anything that intense, but there are plenty of lights even on Amazon. I've got a newer softbox, like it's just a continuous light, so you can use that. You can get playful, have a little bit of variety, and that gives you some options as to what you can capture, how you capture it, that kind of thing. So my biggest suggestion is be creative with your lights, because whatever you have and what you have available to you is what's going to capture something great for you. Today I am mostly going to be photographing with my 50mm on my Canon R6. I love this for portraits. It gives a nice, clean, crisp look. I can pop my aperture wide open if I choose to get something a little bit more bokeh in the background, which is phenomenal. It's like my powerhouse. And then I might throw my 85 on for a little bit because I want some closer up shots. This is more of a creative shoot for me, opposed to getting just like formal headshots, because I have a few. I do have my trigger for my Pro Photo on the top, so I can control my settings and such like that. And then I'm going to be armed with my Canon, my Bluetooth remote, because I don't think I could or would willingly do self-portraits without it. If you see my previous videos, you know how I have my focus button set up, and I love having that variety. However, I do need to switch it up when I'm doing self-portraits, because I need to have auto tracking on my face, opposed to when I've got my general focus set up. I prefer to have that control over it, but when I'm doing self-portraits, I need it to automatically track what the focus is, and then I also have the choice of focusing with my remote. But I'm going to show you the settings that I do for that. So I'm going to pop this sucker on, and then I go into my menu, and then over here in my autofocus, so these are my general settings. I've got my AF operation is typically set to single servo autofocus, and my autofocus method is AF, and this is like an automatic, this is a single point. But for portraits, I wanted to do the facial tracking because I'm on one side of the camera and I can't possibly be on two. And then I'm going to pop up to the top here. I'm going to press this little sucker, and then that'll bring this up on the background. And then I've got options for my remote settings here. So this is automatic with the remote. As to when I click the shutter, it will automatically take picture. So the key when you're doing portraits is you want to make sure that you are eye level with that camera, because if you're photographing up, that is not normal. It's not something we necessarily would normally do. So you obviously have to make sure that you are looking at the lens, not the screen at the top, which is very hard to do sometimes. Let's see if I can pop this bad boy up there too. No. You always want to go over to, yes. So you always want to go over to your camera and see what the exposure is like, because right now, for instance, mine is way overexposed. So I'm going to drop my ISO right down to, where are we? Hold on. I'm going to say 125, and we'll see how that is. And then I'm going to check it, because there's nothing worse than doing your photos and then having all of it to be overexposed. So just keep going back and forth until you get your exposure just right. Much better. So now that I've locked in my settings, I'm at 1/200th of a second, my f1.8, and I've got my ISO at 320. Those seem to be a good spot for me, so I'm just going to do a couple test shots. It's nice to get that variety. So now this is where it's tricky. So now I need to hide my remote, and I'm going to just pop that down. Let's see how we go. Okay, not bad, not bad. Okay. Now I want to be closer. So for the variety that I want today, I want to be close. So I'm using my autofocus. You gotta be really careful when you're this close because you don't want to lose it. So I'm actually gonna pop over and I'm gonna put my 85mm on because I want that little distance there. It's considerably heavier, so now I have to adjust my tripod to suit the weight. No. I tried the 85mm, I couldn't get as close as I wanted to for that focus, so I'm gonna have to really crop in post, and that's fine. I need to be very careful as to the framing that I do for these photographs, so I'm just gonna see what I can do with this 50mm, and if I need to, I will pop over to something else. When you are doing self-portraits, you have to really make sure you hit that focus button a lot, because I can tell you, as soon as you shift, your focus is changing, and it's gonna make or break your photograph very, very quickly. Movement is always fantastic for photographs. Gives you that variety that sometimes it's very easy to miss when you are doing your own photos and you are feeling quite stiff by yourself. Don't forget, composition really does matter. So I'm going to show you possibly the easiest way that I know to show you what I'm doing. So you will see, okay, you can see on my camera here, this is what I'm seeing right now, which gives you an idea. So when I'm photographing, I always want my eye to be about here. I want it about 1/3 of the way up from the top, and then my body at the bottom, and my eye is going to be just slightly to the left or to the right, depending on how I'm going to do this. And then I'm just going to take that shot. Make sure you focus every single time. One thing that I always do when I'm doing a self-portrait shoot is I always have inspiration photos that I've sourced off Pinterest, that kind of thing. Instagram is an okay option. I prefer to get my inspiration from Pinterest because I find there's not as much self-comparison to other photographers in the area. So I have a few varieties here, a few options. I just want to create something a little moodier. So I'm going to go back to this. This is going to be where I capture my inspiration for what I'm going to get today. Those are all crap, so I'm gonna redo those. There's one way to know if you like a shot, and that is to see it and switch it up if need be. So this one I want just slightly out of focus. So I'm gonna focus here and then shift just slightly more back. How that was. Okay, not bad. So one thing I'm gonna actually do now, I want the background to be black, and I want just me to be highlighted. So I'm gonna adjust my f-stop. I'm gonna go up to 6.3 and see how that is. 6.3, but I'm gonna also pop up my light. Let's see. Ooh, it's a little moodier. So as you can tell, I've actually changed my outfit now. However, I'm also switching my backdrop. I decided to switch it from the black. I'm gonna put my white back on there, but I'm actually gonna put it over here in front of these photographs because I like the idea. I've got the sun really shining through the blinds right now, so I really wanna try and capture a little bit of creative lighting. So I'm gonna see how it goes. Not enough light through that I was hoping for to be able to capture a lot of real good mood for. So trial and error, and you may still hate it. Yeah. They're okay. They're just okay. So I'm gonna play with things a little bit, and I'm gonna switch it up. I want something a little bit more up close, different perspective. So now I'm gonna bring in a little bit of grass just for a little bit of bokeh effect. And it's kind of a nice way of not hitting my head. So that pretty much wraps up my self-portraits today. I had the studio set up for a client, so I figured I'd hop in here and show you a little bit about how I will capture a few extras for being able to use for marketing for myself and for being able to capture myself without always having someone behind the camera for you. It is much easier having someone behind the camera for you because they can have those little tweaks on different angles and stuff like that, and you don't have the nuisance of necessarily backdrops very often. But play with your lighting, play with your lenses, keep moving, have different angles to your body, that sort of thing. Variety for any photo shoot, even if it's photos for yourself, is huge because you never know where you're going to want to use those photos. It is a nuisance on the tripod, but always do vertical and horizontal. It gives you that variety again for anything. Different platforms have different sort of orientations that are mostly a priority. Other than that, check back next week and I will have more. There's always more coming at you. We're coming into the warmer season, so I'll be able to take you outside a lot more soon, and you'll be able to see a lot of the behind the scenes. So check back and we'll see what I have next week.